Egal.
Ah, smallest church in Saint-Saëns, right?
Ja, die Kirche ist in Wirklichkeit meine Vergangenheit. Ja, die Kirche ist in Wirklichkeit mein Leben. Ja, die Kirche ist in Wirklichkeit meine Liebe. Es steht ziemlich schlecht um sie. Ich habe den Scheißladen gerockt. Hab ihnen doch gesagt, dass ich die Scheiße rocke.
It was all right. Subdued. I might start letting people up there again. Now, what can I do for you?
Ha, danke Gard. Hat Kubek auch was dazu zu sagen?
The man ponders his cooking utensil.
Das war alles. Hast du was dazu zu sagen?
Hi again, Gendarme. Bye-bye, Gendarme.
Hast du was zu sagen?
The Coppernado is back. What do you want? Yeah? What? Anything else?
Ne, keiner will sonst mit mir über meinen geilen Gesang reden. Ihr seid langweilig. Was wir jetzt aber machen müssen, ist ein bisschen Zeit vergehen lassen, bis Kim sich verdünnisiert. Ich muss nochmal zu Frit mir ein paar Heil-Items kaufen. Und dann können wir mit Lenny über die verschiedenen Leute in Martinez reden. Das wird uns Zeit bringen.
A small cabinet on the wall is filled with various medicine bottles, nasal sprays, and blister packs. They all bear the psalm.
Okay, here. I hope Saint Baptiste makes you feel better or something. Okay, here. I hope Saint Baptiste makes you feel better or something.
Danke. Haben wir wieder aufgefüllt. Jana was zu sagen?
Hola, Wandering Man. How can I help you?
Nix. Ich kann mit Klaas hier nochmal reden, wenn ich will. Nee, großer.
Your race descent has only worsened since I last saw you. You have really let yourself go.
Ich schließe mich seiner Rassentheorie an.
Ask what kind of races there are first. Classification is core to this stuff.
Schädelmesser, dies ist eine neue Welt für mich. Helfen Sie mir, Ihre rassischen Zusammensetzung zu verstehen. Ich muss wissen, welche verschiedenen Rassen es gibt.
Do you?
Tennant zieht sich an. Ich tue das für die Sache.
What thing? We already got in the harbor. You just want to hear about races, don't you?
You are obviously a liberal, Sailorlight. A polyculturalist. I can see it from your love of microtechnology and your sartorial choices. Do not deny your friend the truth you have denied yourself. There are three categories of race. Type A, the heroic races. Type B, the servile races. And the vile CF race cauldron of pederasty. Which one do you need education on?
Typ A.
Those are the Simonese, the Areopagite, and the Occidentals, excluding the Maun, of course. The Maun are riddled with eczema to the point where they find it impossible to smile. They are all lactose intolerant, a common result of inbreeding. A receding genetic pool has led the Maun on reprehensible street parades. In Maun cities like Stadskanal and Vredefort, wearing wooden clogs on their feet and little green tassels on their hats.
Moment, wer genau sind die Mounts?
You know them by the names of their nation-states. The Oranese, the Gotwaldians, and the Königsteiners. My people simply call them Maun.
Mahun is a derogative term for first world people of Gotwaldian descent. They do not all have eczema. Also, people of Katla, like the Suru and the Uhu, are much more lactose intolerant.
Aber was ist mit den Holzschuhen?
In some municipalities of Oranje, people do wear shoes made of wood to street parades. Green, orange, and even yellow tassels have also been seen on hats.
The Maun are proof that you can have too much Occidental racial purity and tassel-centric culture. Inbreeding has led to a lactose-intolerant subrace whom no one can take seriously.
Colorful tassels are, let's be honest, not a good sartorial choice for this century. You might want to avoid wooden clogs too.
Okay, verstehe. Welche Völker gehören denn dann in Ihren Augen zum Typ A?
The Vespertines and Messenians of Vesper and Messina, the ancient Meteorans of Meteo by the golden Pisantic Sea, the Suren of Sur-la-Clé, and even the North Königsteiners, all have Type A race propensities. The other large Mondial civilization, the Mesk, are too yellow and oleaginous to count as a heroic race. True, they are violent and expansionist, but they have a glandular problem.
Er fährt sich mit dem Finger übers Gesicht.
Overproduction of sebum. Sebum is leaking into their brains, making them listen to El Mariachi music and eat toxic minced meat-based food, which in turn only produces more sebum.
Wo stehen in diesem System die Semenesen und Areopagiten?
As proven by the Maun and the Mesk, Occidental Type A is in retrograde. The Semenese and the Areopagite are on the ascent.
Und die Semenesen sind?
The indigenous people of this, the Insulindian archipelago. The Simonese inhabit the southern islands. I am Simonese, from the stock of Ulmbuir on Ile de Fantôme.
Und die Areopagiten?
The Areopagites are the master race of the Ile Maran deserts. The Simonese are descendants of the Areopagites. We came here during a heroic migration from Ile Marat to Ansuland, thousands of years before the lactose-intolerant Maun-ridden Occidentals discovered this place.
Was ist der Unterschied zwischen den Semenesen und den Areopagiten?
The Areopagites are sleek, long-headed. The Simonese are powerful, mesomorphic. The former is an immutable progenitor, unchanged since the Super Isola of Pericarnassus. Ancient brains rest in their slender skulls.
Verstummt, sind über die Schönheit und das Geheimnisvolle nach.
The latter is perfected and adapting. Together they form the Simeno-Areopagite, or Simeopagite super race. That is all. There are no more type A races in the world.
Nature was not capable of more.
Zu Typ B.
Type B are the unheroic races, amorphous non-competitors of the great race. The Koikos and the Vacholier, they are mud-colored people.
The Koikos of Grad, Yugo, Zhimsk, Shest et al. Are what you would call white, officer, in a suspect description.
Sie sagten Koikos. Mir wurde beigebracht, sie in offiziellen Beschreibungen als Weiße zu bezeichnen.
Yes. To an untrained eye, the Koiko appear white and pinkish, like a ham sandwich. But look into their eyes and you will see. They are of an indistinct color, and so is their skin. Unhealthy, muddy, and ashen. Pinkness is a racial quality that has to be earned through centuries of advanced ballistic warfare and cultural domination that the Grad people have undergone for drinking Al-Rul and smoking the degenerate tobacco herb, and for eating potato. The Koiko, the countless micronationalities of Grad, are all inexplicably obsessed with potat. The only thing they like more is dividing into microscopic ethnostates, like political amoeba.
Wouldn't he be one for ethnostates?
Sie haben nichts für Ethnostaaten übrig?
They are microscopic. The Semeno-Areopagite superstate will cover the entire remaining planetary crust, uninterrupted. From Holy Semenine to the Boreal Plateau of Katla. Its leaders will be the genetic epitome of the Semenese and Areopagite stock, elected by nature, not the base inert spoilage called demos.
Und was ist mit den Vacholiers, die Sie erwähnt haben?
The Vacholians, halfway between Type A and the Racial called Ron. Two mixed to know right from wrong. You tried your degenerate little revolution, which was the single greatest failure committed by humans in our 82,000-year history on this planet.
Is it 82,000 years that we've been recording history? You have very little idea of what is happening, but that seems a little off.
Ich bin mir ziemlich sicher, dass die Geschichte noch nicht so lange dauert.
The mysteries of the people of this planet are a tragedy that has played out countless times over, like a fever dream of skin, hair, and bone. Wake up, naive Chespias.
Ich habe von dieser Revolution gehört. Es wurden Fehler gemacht, aber der Ansatz war richtig. Sie irren sich, was das Thema angeht.
The revolution came to Ravachol from Grad, in Zaraz-ridden potato carts. It is literally an illness, a prion disease that leaves the parietal and frontal lobe ridden with holes. A soft, sponge-like mass of dementia, hallucination, and paranoia. The revolution is fatal familial insomnia, a hereditary prion condition passed from the Koiko to the Occidentals. But not sexually. Probably through trade roots and potate acid, the prime component of the potato plant. Enough of Tibet mediocrity.
Bitte erzählen Sie mir etwas über den abscheulich päderastischen Schmelztiegel der Rassen C bis F.
Tips CF are a museum of failed chimeric experiments and tragic maladaptations. They are tortured creatures waiting to be put to sleep. Your morbid interest in them worries me.
Chimärenexperimente?
Lesser races like the mosquito, a grotesque mixture of a masked woman and a Semenese man. Only possible if the mother is Mesk and the father Semenese. The other way around, they fail to produce offspring. The mosquito is born sterile, like a donkey. All they have left is to ride customized motor carriages with hydraulic suspension, listening to aggressive El Mariachi music to vent their impotent despair.
Gibt es noch mehr zu sagen?
Then there is the Simino Koiki Chimera. Are you sure you wish to know of the Simino Koiki Chimera? It is not an aesthetic site.
Yep.
The Koiko, as you know, are very servile, especially when they meet the rich man. Racial scientists have toyed with the idea of crossing the Simonese with the Koiko to produce a super worker of Simonese strength and grad servility. This will never happen. The Simonese and the Koiko may have similar interbreeding problems as the mosquito. We will never know precisely. No Simonese man could maintain an erection in the suffocating potato stench of a Koiko woman, or Koika.
Your eyes bounce to the young woman at his side, twirling her hair. It is light brownish and eyes are a random color.
Kartoffelfarbiges Haar, unbestimmte Augenfarbe. Du deutest mit einem Nicken auf Schädelmessers Frau.
The heart that pumps the hemoglobin is mysterious, and so is its dark will. Enough of these personal matters. Have you been educated to all the Rasotype now?
He does not seem angry, nor does the woman look affected. She just twirls her hair. Perhaps they've been through this and established an accord.
Wir sind alle Typen durchgegangen. Verstehe ich die fortgeschrittene Rassentheorie nun?
You understand nothing. To solve the great race enigma, you have to first ask yourself, what is the race enigma? You have not even worded the mystery, let alone solved it.
Wie fasse ich das Geheimnis in Worte?
You need to internalize what you have heard here today, then return to me. This clarity does not come instantly.
Sprechen wir über etwas anderes.
I cannot possibly imagine what else we have to discuss, Tibere Vasholian. Your love for disco music and venereal disease? There is nothing fun. I cannot possibly imagine.
-1 Schauspielkunst. Ein Sammelsurium fantastischer Rassen wirbelt dir durch den Kopf. Wüstenpygmäen, die mit ihren eigenen Exkrementen spielen, Koikos, die mit Kartoffeln jonglieren, grinsende Mounts mit Hautausschlag, mit Holzschuhen an den Füßen tanzen. Alle sind sie da, die ganze Rassenbande, sowie einige, die du dir womöglich selbst ausgedacht hast. Die diebischen Subkipten und die seolitische Klasse der Betuchten, die irgendeinen Plan ausprüfen. Im Auge dieses Rassenempyrios, das sich schwindelerregend bis zum Himmel auftürmt, spürst du, wie etwas immer näher kommt. Und das ist eine Quest? Boah, ich weiß nicht, ob ich das will. Ja gut, Schädel. Ich habe sowieso keine Erfahrungspunkte, um damit zu spielen. Und wenn mich das zu einem Superrassisten macht, finde ich das sowieso nicht geil. Also bräuchte ich 2 Punkte, um es auch sofort wieder zu löschen. Was habe ich bei dem Typ nochmal gebraucht? Das waren rote Würfelproben, nicht wahr?
Welcome back, gentlemen. What can I do for you?
Weißt du was? Hier, probier's.
Congratulations. You've somehow managed to fail at failing, which means, in a strange way, that you've succeeded.
Wir sollten in ein Jugendzentrum investieren.
A youth center, huh? What kind of youth center?
A place to teach them practical skills, like teamwork and self-discipline. Come on, tell him what he wants to hear.
Eins, das Kinder aus niedrig vermögenden Familien die Werte einer liberalen Wirtschaftsordnung näherbringt. Eins, das die Führungskräfte von morgen dazu inspiriert, der Öffentlichkeit zu dienen. Ein ganz normales Jugendzentrum mit Basketballplatz und allem drum und dran, wo sie Teamarbeit und andere emotionale Fähigkeiten lernen können.
No, no, no. You've got to think bigger than that. I like that you're thinking about the future, but couldn't the center have a more economic focus?
Ja, dann nehmen wir das mit Kindern.
Brilliant. Without children, who'll be there to buy stuff in the future?
Ja, und wenn es schief geht, können wir das Zentrum immer noch zu einer Einkaufspassage einer Private Equity Firma umfunktionieren.
When life closes a door, it opens a window, yes? What's the expected return on this?
Hervorragend ausgebildetes, arbeitsbereites Humankapital, das für jedes ihrer zahlreichen Interessen eingesetzt werden kann.
You're deep into ultra-liberal territory now. Good work.
Very impressive. You've got a natural eye for unusual investment opportunities.
Vielen Dank.
I don't normally do this without a formal pitch deck, but to hell with it. What's the point of being rich if you have to follow all the rules? Here's the round of seed funding. This should be enough to prove out the concept and get things off the ground.
Cha-ching! What'll it be? Speed? Vodka? Cigarettes?
Danke für Ihr felsenfestes Vertrauen.
Remember, it's not a handout. It's an investment, and I expect to see returns.
The lieutenant stands there, dumbfounded. His mouth opens slightly, then closes again. Is he having a stroke?
Kim, haben Sie gerade einen Schlaganfall?
No, I'm not having a stroke. You're just still full of surprises. Most of them bad, but some good.
The lieutenant has granted you an aura of legitimacy. Bathe in it, but don't let your satisfaction show. Play it cool.
Now, was there anything else I could help you gentlemen with?
Ich habe 100 Real abgesahnt, Kim. Hahaha. Was hast du so auf der Kante?
Oh, hey, mister. I'm not gonna bother you with a long greeting, just like we talked about before. I know Mr. Evrat doesn't really want me to talk to people about union guys. But who did you want to talk about?
Erzählen Sie mir etwas über Manana.
He's a union man through and through. Good guy. He's very calm, laid back, doesn't do much, talks to Evrat sometimes. Honestly, I don't know what he does for us, but it must be important because everybody likes him. Yes, they do. I think that's what he does. He makes everyone feel a little better.
Oil for the wheels. Much needed in stressful times like these.
Erzählen Sie mir etwas über Schädelmesser.
Whoa, he's really something. He doesn't talk much to me usually, but when he does, I don't really understand most of what he's saying. Actually, I don't think he would like me running my mouth about him like that. Once he said he's a dragon to this mob fellow who came picking a fight with some union men. Heh, I think he really believes Jean-Luc was a dragon because he ran right off. Another time he almost killed another guy, but I shouldn't talk about that.
Erzählen Sie mir etwas über den Mann im Container.
Who do you mean, mister?
Reibt sich den Nacken und betrachtet dich mit einem kindlichen Unschuld.
You do realize he might just be a figment of your imagination, right?
Der schick gekleidete Typ im Anzug, in dem Container da drüben.
I don't know anyone like this, mister. Maybe he's one of Mr. Everett's fancy friends. He knows all kinds of fancy people with suits and purdy carriages.
Leo verstummt.
He really feels very uncomfortable discussing matters related to Everett with you.
Erzählen Sie mir etwas über René.
The night guard? Ooh, he's a peculiar fellow. He's the strong, silent type, you could say. We talk all the time, but I don't really know much about him. He plays petanque with my old human studies teacher, Mr. Martin, down at the plaza. I think he's the only fellow who actually knows old Renee. They lived on the same street their entire lives, even dated the same girl on and off for as long as I can remember. Strange fellows. Mr. Martin was always real nice to me in school. I remember once.
Augenblick, Gaston war ja Bürgerkundelehrer?
Mr. Martin, yes. Don't really remember much about him. I was just a boy back then.
Mr. Martin, Gaston also taught history and human studies to the Clear brothers.
Erzählen Sie mir etwas über Everett.
I'd best not. I mean, I could, but I don't think Mr. Everett would like it very much. You better ask him yourself, mister.
Wenn überhaupt, dann wird das allgegenwärtige Lächeln auf Leos Gesicht sogar noch freundlicher.
Sure, mister. What can Leo do for you?
Ich schätze mal, Everett hat nichts mehr übrig bei uns. An Dialog.
Mr. Dubois, every worker, member of the board. How can I help you today? Let's hear it, Harry. Of course, Harry. I'm always happy to educate and entertain you, my friend. Very nice. Most certainly, Harry. By all means, Harry. Great. You want to bounce something off your old friend, Mr. Clare, right? It's perfectly okay. Even if you've told her everything we've talked about, it's absolutely fine. Absolutely, Harry. What's on...
Ich will gehen. Wir müssen noch irgendwie eine Dreiviertelstunde rumschlagen, damit Kim endlich weg ist. Hatten wir nicht noch ein Buch zu lesen?
Medicinal purposes of the Pearl. The cover of this heavy tome features a number of esoteric symbols. Flipping through the book, you find a number of sections on the general benefits of the Pearl. A large pharmacopoeia makes up nearly half of the book.
Was ist eine Pharmakopoe?
You come across the following explanation. While modern pharmacopoeia are continually updated by so-called experts based on the results of clinical trials, readers will find assembled here the timeless wisdom relied upon by generations of traditional Seolite medicine practitioners, Mesk mystics, and Ilmaran folk doctors. It's all quackery, in other words. Finally, something to calm the angry spirits that have been plaguing you. It seems to contain descriptions of the medicinal properties of various ingredients that may be gathered from the pale, as well as instructions for producing a variety of herbal remedies.
Steht dort irgendwas über die Wiederherstellung verlorener Erinnerung?
There are a number of Zeolite tonics that promise to improve your short-term memory, but nothing that speaks to your condition.
Irgendwas darüber, wie man einen Kater von apokalyptischem Ausmaß heilt?
There's nothing in here that speaks to hangovers directly. However, while browsing through the various descriptions, you become convinced that you could assemble something from the ingredients listed here. Want to give it a shot?
Du reibst dir die Hände. Na schön, Buch. Zeig mir, was du kannst.
First, you need to choose a base ingredient.
Ingwerwurzel, ein Zweiglein frische Minze, gemeine Wiesenraute. Mal Ingwer. Ah, ne, frische
Next,
Minze.
you'll need to combine the base ingredient with an appropriate vehicle.
Du kochst es zusammen mit einem Tee aus Birkenrinde.
Lastly, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Ein Löffel Zucker.
The combination of mint and birch bark make this tea relaxing and good for the digestion. It won't do much for your hangover though. Would you like to try again?
Ja, versuchen wir es
Very
nochmal.
well. First, choose a base ingredient. Next, you'll need to combine the base ingredient with an appropriate vehicle. Lastly, is there anything else you'd like to add? The ginger root will help with the nausea, and the birch bark tea will help you flush out the toxins. The ginseng should give you more energy, as a nice bonus. The very thought of this tea causes your muscles to relax and your mind to clear. You're more present and in control than you were a moment ago.
Ich genieße das Gefühl noch ein wenig länger.
A tingle rushes down your spine, and you feel your toes uncurl. If only it could always be like this. Flipping through the book, you find a number. Have you taken any walks through the Pale recently?
Vielleicht.
And on your walks, do you stop to meditate on the nature of your being?
Absolut, jedes Mal.
Good. And when you meditate, are you in the nude?
Oh klar, splitternackt.
Excellent. Free your body. You long to feel the cool breeze tickle against your inner thighs and midriff. You're doing everything as you should. Regular Pale meditation has been shown to help keep your body lithe and strong, your mind alert and expansive. A note of caution, however. Be sure to limit your exposure to the Pale to no more than an hour a day and no more than 3 hours total per week.
Wow, es sind 3 Stunden. Die Zeit ist ja richtig schnell vergangen. Scheiß Leserei. Aber wir stehen schon wieder kurz vorm Level-Up. Also gut, Kim, bringen wir dich ins Hotel. Dann gehen wir zu unseren Kommunistenfreunden. Und dann holen wir uns unsere verdammte Waffe wieder. Scheiße, muss ich wirklich in eine Fischerhütte gehen, damit du dich verdünnisierst, weil ich hier keine Rechnung gezahlt habe? Oder kann ich einfach mit dir reden und du sagen Schluss für heute?
Yes?
Aber natürlich schieben sie draußen wieder die schwersten Sachen der Welt durch die Gegend. Tschüss, Kim.
It's getting cold. This late in the night.
Gute
Time to
Nacht,
call it
Kim.
a day.
Good night.
Ah, endlich ist er weg. Und wir können tun, wozu wir geboren wurden. Wo treffen sich die Kommunisten? Cindy, hast du mein Kunstwerk gesehen?
Hello again, officers. Have you come to admire?
As you approach the metal grill, you can hear several voices having what appears to be an animated discussion. This must be it. Beyond this door lies the beating heart of radical communism in Martinez. Somehow, the night air softens the smell of trash and sea brine. As the breeze pulls through the canvas like a shuttle through a loom, you catch a hint of something unexpected. Something earthy, warm, and burnt. The acrid smell of failure. No, that's just slightly burnt coffee. A smell you would recognize anywhere.
Just look at this pig, sniffing about after hours.
Warum hast du denn nicht gesagt, dass die geheime Tür direkt hinter dir ist? Hey Cindy, so spät darfst du doch nicht mehr draußen sein. Ab ins Bett.
Must have slipped my mind. You know how it goes.
The metal grill is cool to the touch.
Ich versuche etwas zu hören.
You can make out at least two separate voices. Two voices, both male, approximately early 20s.
Careful with those now. I have it. It's going to work. I can feel it.
You can make two voices.
Careful with those. I have it.
The clang of metal reverberates all along the scaffolding. The voices coming from the other side fall silent.
Who's there? Is that you, Maurice?
Seid ihr alle Kommunisten? Ich suche nämlich welche.
Who said communist? Did we say communist? Get out of here.
Hört mal, ich habe schon etwa 0,001% von Kommunismus errichtet. Aber jetzt muss ich mich organisieren. Könnt ihr mir helfen?
For a moment, silence.
What's the passphrase?
Sie lautet, denke an Dobreva und Abadanais.
There's no response. You begin to wonder whether they've slipped out some back way. No, they're still there. You can feel them back there.
Alright. The key's taped to the back of the door frame. Just make sure you put it back when you're done, or we'll all be locked out. And do watch the concrete. It just kind of falls away. In plain.
Have fun at your underground meeting, Pig. Hope it's a blast.
The two young men are either oblivious to or ignoring your entrance. Their attentions are fixed on whatever it is they're stacking in the middle of the floor. Matchboxes, it appears.
I think he's holding Alexis.
It is.
It's definitely not holding. Those matchboxes are stacked so haphazardly, it's like they want them to collapse.
Careful, careful.
Plumps.
Damn, hardly any difference.
Der junge Mann schüttelt den Kopf. Dann blickt er mit kaum verhohlenem Ärger zu dir hoch.
You're late.
He should know the meeting starts at 10 p.m. sharp.
Sein Kompagnon sieht zu dir hoch und kneift die Augen zusammen.
His eyes are tracing an invisible line back and forth from your jacket to his companion.
Esteban, isn't that your jacket?
What a coincidence. You two have the same jacket. What are the odds?
It certainly looks like my jacket, Alexis. Where did you get that, gendarme?
Muss Zufall sein. Diese Jacke sehe ich überall.
Unlikely. That's real Sarmaritzian twill. Only old Sarmaritzian communists and drug smugglers wear those anymore.
He is neither of those, of course. He is simply a poor student putting on airs. Also, he doesn't have the shoulders to fill out such a jacket.
See, Uli? It's just like Mazov wrote. How does it go, gang?
Those committed to the rights of property are those most apt to violate them.
I assumed it was Maurice who broke into my room to play a trick on me. I didn't think I'd actually been raided by the RCM.
There is surprise in his voice, naturally. But is that a note of excitement you also detect?
Und, willst du deine Jacke wiederhaben? Hör mal, Genosse, es ist nicht so, wie es aussieht. Warum klingst du eigentlich so freudig erregt darüber, Ziel einer Razzia der BMR gewesen zu sein?
Oh, gendarme, because this is perfect. Can you imagine the look on Morris's face when he finds out the RCM has been kicking my door down?
He'll shit himself, positively.
And now they've sent one of their agents to infiltrate our meeting.
Aufgeregt reibt er sich die Hände. Jetzt mal halblang. Ich werde das Treffen nicht unterwandern, sondern dabei mitmachen.
The RCM wants to join us?
Ein verständnisloser Gesichtsausdruck.
Interesting. Does that mean you've done the reading?
Uh-oh. No one said anything about reading. You'll just have to wing this one.
Die Lektüre, klar, ich habe alles gelesen. Was hat es denn mit dieser Lektüre auf sich? Ich dachte, das hier wäre eine revolutionäre Gruppe.
Yes, a revolutionary reading group. The most ideologically advanced materialist reading group in Martinez. But it sounds like that's news to you.
There's profound consternation in his voice. You suspect it's about something bigger than your not having done the reading.
Maybe he can explain himself.
Was genau macht ihr beiden hier eigentlich? Was habt ihr da gerade eigentlich mit den Streichholzschachteln gemacht?
The young man frowns at the little pile of boxes on the floor.
Nothing, just messing around until the meeting started.
They're watching those matchboxes awfully intently, for two guys who are just messing around. It's almost as though they were trying to create the most unstable structure they could.
Was genau macht ihr beiden hier?
In the most generous sense, I would say we're cultivating revolutionary consciousness.
Yes, that's probably the best way to describe it.
But more specifically, we are running a reading group. The most rigorous and theoretically advanced materialist reading group in Martinaise.
Comrade Steban is a great discussion leader. One of the best at the university.
Kann ich mich hier in Theoriekämpfen erweisen?
We have been known to get into some spirited debates, but it's always in service of our larger intellectual and ideological project.
Precisely. We are not interested in senseless parroting. We like to read critically.
Within the contours of Masovian historical materialism, of course.
Ich wusste gar nicht, dass an Universitäten radikale masovianische Theorie gelehrt wird. Na schön, aber was lest ihr hier eigentlich in eurer Lesegruppe?
We study all the foundational texts of Masovian theory, of course. Just last week we finished the second volume of Puncher and Watman's Innocence of Capital.
Truly extraordinary.
And before that we spent 6 weeks on State and Plasm.
For some reason, the word plasm catches in your ear like a piece of old wax. Uh-oh. You can feel your attention span rapidly deteriorating.
Ich zwinge mich dazu, weiterzuhören.
We've also read Wertmüller's The Megastructure of History, and before that, Real and Reality.
Communist theorists love puns, in case that wasn't obvious.
Hablars une paix infernale.
The original Fizdale translation, not that watered down revisionist garbage.
These two deserve the Order of Honor for bullshitting. There's no way they've actually read all this stuff.
Obviously.
But, of course, our special emphasis is on the theories of Ignaz Nilsson and his followers, especially the inframaterialists.
Moment, wer sind diese Inframaterialisten?
You're not familiar with him? It's pretty advanced stuff. You may not be ready for it yet, Gendarme.
Die beiden jungen Männer werfen sich skeptische Blicke von der Seite zu. Na schön, aber wer ist dann dieser Ignaz Nilsson?
Only Krasmazov's most trusted lieutenant, the evangelist of the revolution, and the founding father of the People's Republic of Samara.
It's hard to overstate how unimpressed he is that you've never heard of this world historical individual.
He also happens to be the greatest communist theorist after Mazov himself. It was Nilsson who first postulated the existence of ideological plasm, which forms the basis of inframaterialist theory.
Those words again. You've got to find out what this inframaterialist stuff is all about. Whatever it is, one thing's perfectly clear. These young students have a much deeper understanding of communism than you do. You could learn a thing or two from them. If you can convince them you're one of them. The young man sighs. His companion looks about furtively.
Hatte diese Lesegruppe etwas mit dem Lynchmord zu tun?
Lynching? No. We're not an operational cell.
We think of ourselves as more of an intellectual vanguard.
Bist du dir sicher? Meine Arbeitshypothese ist nämlich, dass der Kommunismus den Gehängten umgebracht hat.
You're saying you think the mercenary was killed by communism itself?
Seems unlikely from a strictly inframaterialist perspective.
Comrade Ulix is right. The amount of plasm required to strike down an ideological enemy outright is enormous. We're talking second-level effects, at a minimum.
Or even third.
What are these levels they're talking about? This doesn't sound like any communism you've encountered before.
In any case, it's not like the SRV has established a party line on the subject of lynchings in Martinaise.
Zwei junge Männer sehen sich an.
Though historically speaking, the SRV has supported direct action against right-wing paramilitary squads, especially when they are doing the Indo-Tribes' dirty work.
Good point. So as a provisional matter, I can say we support it.
It's not that the boundary between sarcasm and sincerity is porous with these two. It's that they actually seem to overlap, as though one is meant to conceal the other. It's always that way, beneath the crust of irony. There's a molten sincerity that threatens to erupt forth. You may witness it yet.
Steht eure Lesegruppe in irgendeiner Verbindung mit der Gewerkschaft?
No, we're an independent organization. We acknowledge and respect the union's efforts, but our interests are more theoretical than Mr. Clare's.
He speaks the truth.
Sag mal, was denkt ihr eigentlich allgemein so über Verbrechen?
That's easy. Crime is simply the inevitable expression of the injustice and incoherence embedded within capitalism itself.
Delivered with the smug assurance of a schoolboy reciting a maxim he's committed to memory.
It's a symptom, in other words, not a cause.
Winkt ab, als wäre das alles, was zu diesem Thema zu sagen gäbe.
His companion can barely suppress a yawn.
Gibt es denn überhaupt einsatzbereite Zellen in Martinez?
No, unfortunately. The communards were hunted down and killed nearly to a man. All that's left of them are bones and old rifles.
So wie dieses hier?
His companion's eyes widen as you hold up the ancient weapon. He's practically itching to stick that thing in someone's face and pull the trigger.
Yes, like that one. I wonder how many of these are still lying around in cellars or sealed up behind the masonry.
Zieht grübelnd die Augenbrauen zusammen und sieht dann auf.
Can I hold it?
Bitte?
It's heavier than I was expecting.
Das Gewehr liegt auf seinen offenen Handflächen. Seine Lage erinnert dich an etwas.
Though what, exactly, you can't say. He turns the rifle over again, admiring the glint of light off the oily barrel. When he's finished, he returns the rifle to you with a nod of appreciation.
Wo ist der Rest der Lesegruppe?
What do you mean? This is the reading group.
Es gibt also nur euch beiden.
We're in something of a rebuilding phase.
Some of our former comrades didn't have the ideological fortitude our work demands.
Na gut, aber was ist mit ihnen passiert?
Intellectual attrition is maybe the best way to describe it. Felix said he couldn't keep up with the reading on top of his classwork. And Susanna wanted to read text other than Mazovian theory. Like novels, if you can believe it.
Imagine the audacity of wanting to read a novel in a reading group.
Romane, unfassbar. Also ich lese auch mal gerne einen Roman. Vielleicht habt ihr einfach noch nicht die richtige Gruppe gefunden.
We've tried recruiting new members, but unfortunately the current intellectual climate is pretty hostile to inframaterialist thought. These days, if you're on the left, the ascendant schools are the Godwaldians and their iconoclasts.
Don't forget about Maurice and the turnips.
Right. Then there was the whole turnip debacle.
Was ist mit Cindy? Ist die Teil dieser Gruppe?
Cindy is... how to describe her role?
Something of an ideological auxiliary, perhaps.
Yes, that's exactly how I would put it. And naturally, we support her radical counter-liberal aesthetics.
But she refuses to submit an essay, so we can't call her a member of the group per se.
That doesn't stop her from using the room for studio space, of course.
Was ist denn so schlimm an den Gottwalden?
They're the most depressing school of communism. They love writing long books with a patina of Mazovian theory to cover up their cheap psychologizing.
A gang of cheap psychologists and intellectual midgets. Typical Gottwalders, in other words.
It's okay for Uli to say that, because his dad is from Gottwald.
Was ist so deprimierend an ihren Theorien?
The Gottwald school believe that intellectuals as a class are incapable of sparking revolutionary change. So all they can do is critique capitalism from inside itself. That's why they spend all their time smoking cigarettes and writing long works of criticism that make you want to commit suicide.
Hört sich erbärmlich an.
It is miserable. That's probably why they're always committing suicide. You see, the Gottwald school look like communists. They talk like communists. But scratch the patina and you'll see beneath that they're just depressed liberals who've read too many books.
Gut, aber was ist mit den Iconoclasts?
For starters, they love talking about beans.
Für mich bitte keine Erbsen, kann ich nicht ausstehen.
You're no iconoclast then. They're obsessed with beans. They love thinking about beans. They love counting beans. But most of all, they love building models to predict how many beans there'll be in the future.
Nota bene, iconoclast is an extra pejorative form of the already pejorative name, Mazovian economists, a moderate school of Mazovianism which advocates the gradual transition to communism through carefully managed economic modernization rather than violent social revolution.
They're by far the most bean-centric school of communism.
Ah yes, the much maligned bean counters, ensconced in their think tanks and high-rises, believing they can save the world through a series of incremental, assiduously technocratic reforms.
Was ist so falsch daran, mit Hilfe moderater Wirtschaftsreform etwas zu erreichen? Aber ist es denn nicht gut zu wissen, vielleicht? Keine Ahnung, worauf du hinaus willst. Sind die Erbsen eine Metapher?
If only. They've got all the beans accounted for in their asset sheets, their quarterly budgets, their future projections. But for some reason, there are never enough beans to go around. So we've just got to cut our bean rations in half.
And next thing you know, there are budget cuts, so now we've got to cut the bean rations in half again. You see, iconoclasts claim to be communists, but in reality they're just liberals with hard-ons for spreadsheets.
Und was ist mit den Liberalen? Sind die auch Liberale?
Of course not. The only people who actually call themselves liberals are mouth-foaming reactionaries.
Basically indistinguishable from fascists. You'd need an X-ray machine to tell the difference.
Worum geht es eigentlich bei diesen Rüben?
It's an unfortunate story. You see, our ex-comrade Maurice is something of an economist.
He's studying macro and microeconomics.
Right. So a few weeks ago we were discussing the extra physical capabilities of the revolutionary state. And Maurice said, what were his exact words, Ulex's?
It was unbelievable. He said, turnips don't care if they are grown by communists, moralists or Vulcan. They grow just the same.
Basically, he was rejecting the whole foundation of inframaterialist theory.
Kannst du mir noch mal kurz darstellen, was die inframaterialistische Theorie über Rüben sagt?
Simply that under suitably revolutionary conditions, crop yields naturally increase relative to non-revolutionary crops, which Maurice somehow has the gall to deny.
Susanna said that he has been hanging out with some non-communists lately.
For us, the question boiled down to, if you don't even accept the basic ideas of Nielsen and inframaterialist theory, why are you in the reading group?
Das kann ich vollkommen nachvollziehen.
Of course you do. It's pretty basic stuff.
Ihr habt also Maurice aus eurer Lesegruppe geworfen, weil ihr euch über Rüben gestritten habt.
Well, it wasn't so much that he was expelled.
He just quit coming. We haven't seen him around for weeks.
Ich habe genug gehört, reden wir über etwas anderes.
Go ahead.
The young man...
Nothing.
They're watching them. It's almost as though they were trying to create the most unstable structure they could.
Nimmt diese Lesegruppe neue Mitglieder auf?
We typically only accept new members once per semester. There's this whole process with essays and presentations on assigned topics.
Der junge Mann wendet sich seinem Kompagnon zu.
But given that we have some extra seating at the moment, I guess we could be convinced to expedite an application or two.
Stefan, you can't be serious. For gendarme?
I am serious. As materialists, we've got to adapt to conditions as they are. Besides, he'll still need to pass the interview portion of the entrance process. Assuming he's even still interested, that is.
Interview? Hast du noch nie von dem Kopf mit der silbernen Zunge gehört?